All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. Today, we have a very exciting show. I have a lot to talk about. Every day, I feel like there's a new awesome topics, like 5 different things. Like, I go over everything, and then in the morning, I'm like, geez, what am I going to talk about today? And I look, I'm like, oh my, video. Awesome. Yeah, probably because we're doing like a million events, 3 events a week, or, I mean, not that, but, lots of events. Anyway, so here's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about haters. Haters is the headline. People whose knee jerk is to hate on people. Like, specifically, when a new fighter gets a lot of hype behind him, or whatever, anybody who gets hype, and these people whose knee jerk is to hate on them, and how nonsensical it is in many, many cases where I don't understand it. And I'm going to talk about that as a phenomenon, and then also how it doesn't usually apply correctly, what they're saying. We're going to talk about the weirdest thing I've ever heard Chael Sonnen say on his channel, okay? He went off on this thing yesterday. I am going to bury the lead in this case. We're going to get to it. But he said the weirdest, he talked about it for 4 minutes. Maybe the weirdest thing, like, that made no sense whatsoever that he's talked about on his channel. I'm looking in the comments. I'm like, how is nobody calling him out on this? Like, how is everyone just taking this in and being like, oh, yeah, this makes sense. So we'll talk about that. We are going to talk about why Petr Yan doesn't have a booked opponent yet. We're going to talk about DC's comments on Khabib coming back. And I'm going to talk about the August 1st card and just, how the UFC is kind of scrambling to put these cards together. So, first off, the headline. People hating on fighters or people in general, okay? So, this is where this came from. There was a video, not my Sean O'Malley video, although there were some comments on that one, but mostly what I'm talking about was there was I think it was MMA Week, one of those weekly, MMA channels. Something about Sean O'Malley, how he had said that he doesn't take, that's what it was. It was like Sean O'Malley, what he learned from Conor McGregor. And he was like, I learned not to take fights personally. He said that he thought Conor had done an exceptional job throughout his entire career of really poking people, but never taking the engagement with the other fighter personally until Khabib, and he thinks that it played against him. And I completely agree with that. 100%. Now, whether or not Conor had other stuff going on, I don't know. I will say this. Even since Conor got himself together, anytime he talks about Khabib, I see his energy change. And I can read that stuff, as we've talked about. Speaking of being able to read, that's one of the reasons you should subscribe to the channel, because I am going to read these guys. I'm going to look at them like the whole world is a poker table. And you need someone to go, take those eyeglasses off, dog. Take off your sunglasses so I can see your eyes and see in your soul. I'm the person that takes the sunglasses off, and I will tell you what's going on inside these guys' heads. That's why you should subscribe to the channel, as well as, come on. We all know that I'm the best new MMA channel on the internet. Compared to, I don't know, because I don't know any other new MMA channels, but I promise you I'm the best. Pepsi Challenge. Show me one that's better, okay? Anyway, so subscribe, ring the bell, all that stuff. Now, again, getting back to the Conor thing. I can read that it's not a show. It's always been a show with Conor, right? Like, if you watch Notorious, right, where he's doing the hype for the Aldo fight, and he's baiting Aldo. He grabs the belt. And Aldo, they have the footage of Aldo backstage. He's like, man, I'm really mad. He said, that's exactly what he says. Man, I'm really mad. And then they show Conor walking out, and he's smiling and laughing at the camera. The whole thing for Conor is a show. He's getting inside of his head. He is completely disconnected from this emotionally. He is intentionally playing a boo game on Aldo, right? He is not mad, right? Like, Aldo is not capable of making him mad because he's not emotionally invested. And that is what I saw in every fight buildup for Conor, except the Khabib one, where something happened there where I don't know. I mean, before the fight, it could have just been that he couldn't get under Khabib's skin and it drove him crazy. It's highly possible that, because he is exceptional at reading people. And I think that he could read. He's like, man, nothing I do is going to break this guy mentally, and it's pissing me off. I don't know. And then after he lost, he lost decisively, right? Like, that's, I don't know. I don't know about his previous losses, but the Nate Diaz one, he took it on 2 weeks notice at 170. There is plenty of reason for him to be able to write that off in his own mind. Like, I didn't properly prep. I had a new thing. And now I'm going to fight him again. And then he wins, right? He can erase that. Khabib, he knew exactly who his opponent was for like a year. and he prepped and he got annihilated, okay? Who knows how he handles that mentally, because we have never seen that from him, right? We'll find out next time they fight if he's able to kind of zip. But right now it does look like he's taking it personally, and O'Malley is completely correct. Okay, that was tangent central. But that's basically what the context of the Sean O'Malley interview was. And I get into the comment section, and I'm telling you, like, dozens of people are like, oh gosh, the O'Malley hype train is going to come to a screeching halt as soon as he fights someone in the top 15. Like, oh my God, this O'Malley, hey guys, spoiler alert, this O'Malley thing is going to end badly. I mean, like, comment after comment after comment like that. And I'm like, what is that? I don't understand that at all. I do not understand people whose default is hate. Like, hate on him. It's like, wow, the O'Malley train, look at how much hype he's getting. Let's hate on him. Like, what is that? Honestly, like, I'm honestly asking. Like, if you're a person who has, okay, so let's say that someone watching this has written a comment like that about Sean O'Malley, okay? Because I'm going to tell you right now, objectively, there's no evidence that that's the case. Like, none. There's zero. Like, what do you think every single top 3 fighters come up has looked like, right? Okay, you don't just fight the top 5 when you've had 9 total fights. That's not how it works. The guy's 12-0. He has 12 total fights, okay? So normally, you're not fighting ranked fighters in your 10th fight, obviously, or your 11th, or your 12th, normally, okay? Unless you have a long history of, like, kickboxing or something, and you're a known entity. If you're Sean O'Malley, where he's at is completely normal. And he has never had anyone rattle him. He's never been stunned. He's walked through every single person he's fought. What do you think it looks like when a future superstar is coming through that phase of their career, right? They all look like this. Like, they walk through the unranked guys until they get to the ranked guys, and usually they continue to do well, and then they end up, well, I mean, if they end up in the top 3, that's exactly what happens. They just continue on that path. I would actually challenge you guys to think of very many people who have dominated as hard as Sean O'Malley has, and then once they got to, like, fight the 10th ranked guy, they got worked. Okay, it's very rare. Okay, like, very rare. You could point at maybe guys like Johnny Walker, but Johnny Walker was knocking guys out in like 10 seconds. Okay, so it's not really the same thing. Like, Sean O'Malley has knocked out guys, submitted guys. The decisions that he had, he completely dominated. Like, so the point I'm making is that from an objective standpoint, if you're watching O'Malley's career and you're comparing it to other people who have come up through the ranks in a similar fashion, there is no evidence that he is going to crash and burn. None. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to. Okay, he might lose. He might lose this next fight. He might lose the second he fights a top 10 guy. But there's no indication of that. So what, like, when you, if your instinct is to take a hard, definitive stance in the comments, like, hey, hate to break it to you guys, but this Sean O'Malley train is going to crash and burn. Okay, you're not basing that on evidence, because I promise you, I know this sport as well or better than you do, and there is no objective point that you could make or evidence to point to that would be like, this is why I think that. So the only reason to say that is because you personally are adverse to people getting hype. You know, like, you don't like it when guys get hyped up. You don't like when there's a lot of energy around a guy. It's like, ew, I hope that guy crashes and burns. So here's the deal. You want to know what this video is actually about? I wanted to set this up this way. If you are one of those people who has instincts like that to hate on O'Malley, let me tell you what that says, okay? You're one of those guys that's rooting against people succeeding, okay? And what you need to do is evaluate your own life and figure out why you want other people to lose. Because I will tell you right now, it is because you are unhappy with whatever you are doing. That is across the board, universal. People who are happy with their own life do not root against other people, okay? Unless there's something that you specifically don't like about him, okay? Like, you know, I don't like his rainbow hair. I don't like his tattoos. Okay, that's fine. Then just, that's fine. If that's what you just don't like him, that's fine. But saying he's going to fail and saying you don't like him are two completely different things, okay? Completely different things. I don't like his, oh, this guy, he's a prick. I hope he loses. Not the same as, this O'Malley train's going to crash and burn. Okay, do you hear the difference between that? This guy's a clown. I hope he gets his ass kicked. Versus, this guy's all hype. As soon as he fights the top 10 guy, he's gonna lose. Okay, the difference between those two things are, you find out that a guy that you know has a startup company that's starting to do kind of well, right? And in one conversation, you go, I got to be honest with you, I know that guy. He's an asshole, okay? Like, if he succeeds, then karma doesn't exist, because that guy does not deserve anything good to happen to him, because I know he did this. He's a prick. I don't like him. I never have liked him. Very different than, you know, like if you don't have a personal problem with them and you're like, there's no way that that's going to work. I mean, like look at their solutions. Dumb. Why would anyone need that? You know, why would anyone need that? It's dumb. It's dumb. Okay. One is, I am a hater and I don't want to see anyone succeed. And the other one is like, I have a personal problem with this guy. Okay. I don't have a problem with someone who has a personal problem. If you're one of those guys, I hate that shit. Okay. When I was running my startup, I literally cannot explain to you how easy it was to identify the guys that fell into that category. And what's interesting is they were the ones who always wanted to ask me about my company. Always. You know, like they always are, oh, so how are things going with Major League Fantasy? Like, how's it all going? And I would look at them and I'd just be like, good, you know, like I'm not, you know, I'm not going to try to, you know, I didn't want to be like, oh, we just signed a deal with the Golden State Warriors. You know, it's a really, you know, huge win for us. I just would be like, oh, everything's going good. I just wouldn't even engage, because you could just feel it from them. Oh, hey, so how are things going? And you're like, good, man. Excellent. Were you hoping I was going to say that I just had to lay off half my staff and that, like, I'm running out of money and everything's gone haywire? Is that what you were hoping for? Like, would that have made your day better if me, who we barely even see each other, like, you know me, but we very rarely ever hang out, that would have made your day better to know that this thing that I'm pouring my soul into failed? Like, that would do something for you? Like, you'd have a better day? You'd have a better day if I was failing, even though that would have absolutely no effect on your life whatsoever, right? So, like, Sean O'Malley, say what you want about the guy. Is he an exciting fighter? Can you think of many people that are throwing question mark kicks? You know, or guys who are doing spinning back. Like, you watch MMA and you don't like seeing guys doing like jump, flying, spinning kicks. What are you talking about? He's exciting to watch. Why would you be rooting against him? Unless you hate your life. Okay? That's the only place you can come from. You hate your life. Or if you're a person who's succeeding and love your life and then you're also rooting against people, then you're a sociopath. I mean, plain and simple, the psychology is pretty straightforward. So if you are hating on Sean O'Malley for some reason, look inward, okay? Now, I want to talk about this thing that Chael Sonnen said, because this was so bizarre, like so bizarre. As a matter of fact, I'm going to play a clip for you right now. Go.
I was talking to Ali, and he was telling me that Martin, and I struggle with Martin's last name. How do you say that? Vidiaroli? Martin. Martin's, who's largely is on everybody's radar because he had a fight with Adesanya. It was Adesanya's first ever fight within the UFC, and it was a split decision. It's a very close fight before anybody knew that Adesanya was secretly the best fighter in the world. Oh, and by the way, Marvin might just be the second best. I mean, we might have had 1 versus 2 in a debut match on an unmentioned fight. I mean, that may be the way it's looking. So Martin's on a tear. I mean, he's knocking people out. He looks good. He looks surprised. Every time you see him, he looks physically better. He looks meaner. He looks like he's gaining confidence. And Anderson, opinion certainly has to matter, and he's seeing something that he doesn't like. Compliment to Martin.
Okay, so Martin that he's talking about, Martin is Marvin Vettori. Okay, he's talking about Marvin Vettori, which is Israel's very first opponent, obviously, just like he said, and the guy lost a split decision to Israel Adesanya. Okay, so if you were listening to what Chael just said, he said that this guy might have been the number, you know, who knows, he might have been the number 2 guy in the division. He's been on a tear since then. What? And everybody wants, you know, he's knocking everybody out. Okay, what are you talking about? Like, that is literally, like, what that is, like, everything he said is utter nonsense. Like, literally, like, completely utter nonsense. Do you want to see what Vettori has done since that fight? Because I think it'll surprise you based on what Chael just said, because here's what Vettori has done, okay? He has won 3 fights. He's won all 3 of his fights. He won 1 over Cesar Ferreira by unanimous decision. He won 1 over Andrew Sanchez by decision. And then he submitted Carl Robertson. Okay, so he's won 3 fights, all against unranked opponents, and he knocked none of them out. Like, 0 knockouts. So Chael said he's knocking everyone out, and he might be the number 2 guy in the division because one judge thought that he beat Israel Adesanya, like, honestly, like, can you connect what Chael said to reality here, where since that fight, he's 3-0 with 2 decisions and 1 submission over unranked opponents. Like, no one's saying the guy's not doing well, but Chael said he might be the number 2 guy in the division. He's ranked 14th. He hasn't beat a single ranked opponent. None. So, yeah, I found that very bizarre. I honestly don't really have anything to add to that, except if Chael would have been calling him by his correct name, I would say, oh, so Chael must be this guy's manager now, right? He must be managing Marvin Vettori. But he was calling him Martin, which, if he doesn't know his own client's name, that would probably be a pretty bad sign, right? So, like, I think it's fair to say he's not managing him if he doesn't know his name. But at the same time, what show is he watching if he thinks this guy is the number 2 guy based on winning 3 fights over unranked opponents? So, is that, like, I'm serious. Like, is that not super bizarre? Wait, I don't know, man. Bizarre to me. I was just like, what is he talking about? Okay, so now I want to talk about Petr Yan not having an opponent, because people keep talking about this. They're like, oh, is it going to be out? Like, why aren't they giving Aljamain the title shot? Why aren't they committing to that? You know, they said he got the next title shot. Why aren't they committing to that? Do I really need to explain this to you guys? Like, seriously? Is there really a mystery? What do you, like, as a matter of fact, here, before I do, what do you guys think is happening? Like, why aren't they giving him the automatic shot? Like, why aren't they booking him? They said they were going to. What could possibly be happening? Maybe they're going to give it to, I don't know. Maybe they're going to give it to Cody Garbrandt. I've heard people say, like, oh, is Cody Garbrandt being considered for a title shot? No chance. No chance of that. Okay. Think. How about 2 guys that are not currently active in the division that would probably have priority over Aljamain? Ready? Can you think of them? TJ Dillashaw and Triple C. Okay, that's why he doesn't have an opponent yet. Okay, this is not rocket science. You have TJ coming back and you have Triple C. So they're trying to figure out, they're like, all right, so Triple C wants to come back and fight. Are we going to give him Volkanovski? If not Volkanovski, should we make him defend against Petr Yan? Like, what to do? Like, Triple C out of Volkanovski, Petr Yan, and Figueiredo, okay? Your biggest star out of all of those is Triple C, right? Triple C is a bigger star than all 3 of them. So deciding what to do with him is going to be prioritized over giving these guys their marching papers. They just fought. All 3 of them just fought. So yeah, that's what's going on. That's why Aljamain is sitting on the shelf and doesn't know what's going on, is because maybe it's going to be Triple C, or who knows, even TJ Dillashaw. That's a wild card. Although I would say throwing him a title shot after he pissed off from EPO, come on. Although he did never lose at 135. That's the thing. He never lost at 135. Triple C knocked him out at 125. He has never lost the belt at 135. So you could make an argument that he should get an immediate title shot. I'm not saying that that's my position. I would have to think a lot more about it than just kind of, I realized it right now and I'm saying it on camera. Okay. So one thing I also wanted to talk about that I'm not sure if I even mentioned in the intro is Gustafson and Werdum. All right. So look. So Gustafson has made this big thing about how he broke Verdum's nose in training, and that when they sparred, that Gustafson just annihilated Werdum. Okay, let me tell you why that is a very loaded statement and why people should be looking kind of sideways at that. Okay, think about Fabricio Werdum in 2017, right? Incredible striker, right? A world-class striker who is knocking out heavyweight fighters, right? Okay, look at Fabricio Werdum in 2014, okay? Laying on his back like a crab, a crab that has gotten flipped over on its shell and is like, come on down, because I don't know how to do anything on my feet. Like, I'm giving him props actually on how far he developed as a striker. But he had no striking game, none before. He was one of those guys that you just wanted to scream at your TV where you're like, can you stand up and fight? Okay. No one's gonna voluntarily lay on the ground with a world champion in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay. You don't get to just, it's mixed martial arts. And so I've decided that what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay on the ground and I'm just going to lay here until you decide to come lay down with me. Okay. That's what's going on. I'm just going to lay here. No, I'm not going to stand up. I'm not going to do it. I want to fight on the ground. And they're like, well, that's not how this sport is fought. You start on your feet. If you can get it to the ground, then we can fight on the ground. But you have to stand up. He's like, I'm just going to lay down. I hated that shit. Okay, I fucking hated that shit. And so the point I'm trying to make is that when Gustafson sparred with him is pretty relevant here. Okay, so if he sparred with him in 2014, broke his nose, who cares? If he sparred with him in 2018, broke his nose, that matters. Okay, but I'm feeling pretty confident about Gustafson in this fight. Let me just say that, because I'm going to do I'll probably do a breakdown video on this, and I probably should have done it like a week ago, but Gustafson is going to have tremendous reach. He's going to be constantly moving around. He's going to be able to tat him up. He has amazing takedown defense. Okay, Gustafson has some of the best takedown defense in the UFC in any weight class, and he's going to be he's going to be faster, longer. He's going to move better, and getting him on the ground is going to be incredibly challenging. Now, Werdum, if he gets a hold of you, he can knock you out. But again, we're also talking about post-juice Werdum, right? World champion Werdum was on juice. Okay, then he pissed hot. Then he had 2 years off. I mean, then they had him fight against another, 48-year-old Olenek, right? Like, there shouldn't be any. He's gonna have to prove that he can still be an elite fighter absent the juice at age 42, at least striking. I mean, of course, on the ground he's always gonna be world class. So I'm feeling pretty confident about Gustafson in that fight. So, yeah, basically the only other thing I wanted to talk about was just how DC said he wasn't sure that Khabib's ever going to fight again, and that he just and I don't think anyone, or certainly no American, has more insight into Khabib as a person and Khabib's journey as a mixed martial artist than DC does, right? Like, I mean, DC is he's the big boy at AKA, and as far as he said that this journey was something that Khabib and Abdulmanap were on together. It was a journey they were on together. And he's not positive that Khabib's going to come back. And if he does, how long he's going to fight for, etc. So, Khabib has nothing left to prove. I mean, if he wanted to retire, he's got all the money. He could retire and be considered one of the greats. Very soon after his retirement, people would forget about the fact that he didn't beat Gaethje or Ferguson, right? Like, I don't think that if he retired right now as the definitive champion, I mean, like, definitive champion, it's not like people are gonna look back in 5 years and go, oh yeah, remember Khabib didn't beat Gaethje. Like, people won't remember that. I don't think. I think that they'll just remember that he was a guy who went undefeated. I'm trying to think if anybody else has even retired undefeated. He went undefeated. No one even, I think he lost one round ever. And anybody who wants to watch the third round of the Conor versus Khabib fight, if that looks like a definitive victory for Conor, it looked like Khabib took the round off and was like, here, go ahead, Conor, here, yeah. Tire yourself out a little bit. Tire yourself out. And then in the fourth, I'm going to smash your head in. So he's certainly one of the greats. If not, I mean, I could certainly see how in 5 years, if he retired right now, that people would be talking about him as the greatest of all time. I personally think he's going to fight, but only because he's a competitor, man. Like, once he's going to have, like, as much as him and his dad were living this journey together, he's going to have to live his life without his dad. And, like, he's a fighter. I mean, he's a fighter. And again, I'm speculating. Obviously, DC would know better than I would, but I'm just thinking, like, on a human level, what does a person do? What's he going to do? Like, what's he going to do? He's young. One thing I know a lot about is what it looks like when guys retire early, okay? Like, guys who make a lot of money and then they retire, they almost always come back to work. Almost always, because, like, what are they going to do? You wake up on Tuesday, you go take your dog for a walk, you come back and it's 10, right? Or, you eat breakfast, then you take your dog for a walk, you go for a jog, it's 10 a.m. and you're like, what am I going to do the rest of my day, right? He doesn't look like a guy who's going to pick up golf, So my guess is he's going to fight because he's a fighter and he's still got fight in him. And I think it's that'll be a way for him to feel as though he's still connected with his dad because he's still on the journey that they were on together, and he'll be able to talk to him about it, as he progresses. So, I get this video changed tone, obviously, but anyway, that's what I got. So subscribe, ring the bell, let's go. Best MMA channel on YouTube, 100%. Put them up, son. Put them up. Let's go.